Hey everybody on YouTube, welcome to part 3 of my sneak peek to my bookshelf. Like I've said in previous videos, these are just the books, or some of, not all, but some of the books that I consider to be central to my path as a witch, as a human being, toward gnosis, basically, toward developing my spirituality. So in this final segment, I'm going to talk about some of the books that I've read about history, the history of religions, the history of the Inquisition, history of the United States, and some of the other academic interests that I have that I kind of tie into my spiritual practice. In the field of U.S. Latino scholarship and literature and culture, fiction I would consider magical resources as well. So, The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde by Junot Diaz. It won the Pulitzer Prize. It's one of my favorite books, one of my favorite novels of all time. Actually, the fiction of Junot Diaz is probably going to appear in the first chapter of my dissertation, which is why I'm working on queer utopianism and the apocalypse right now, because it shows up a lot in this book. But this book, of his 3 books of fiction, the novel is the most magical, I would say. And if you're not familiar with Caribbean history or diaspora literature, or specifically Dominican history, this is a great way to learn about Dominican history and U.S. interventions in the Dominican Republic and the dictatorship that they had with Trujillato. So, highly recommend this book. Ana Castillo is a queer Chicana author. She published a lot in the 90s, so this is one of her novels, which probably will also show up in my dissertation. One of the chapters will be about her. So this is her novel, So Far From God, and it's really fascinating because she takes the genre, the mostly medieval genre of hagiography, which is the lives of the saints, and she queers it up. And so the story is, it's a very thin novel, and it's super entertaining, make you laugh out loud, but also make you cry kind of novel. It's about this woman, Sofia, and her 4 daughters, Caridad, Esperanza, Paz, and La Loca. So the names of the 4 daughters are allegorical, and it's very fascinating. So her theoretical book is called Massacre of the Dreamers, Essays on Chicanismo. So I would recommend, if you're not familiar with the world of U.S. Latino literature, I would recommend just read the novel, because this might be like a little too much. But yeah, so. And of course, Gloria. May she rest in peace. Gloria Anzaldúa, Borderlands La Frontera. If Jose Esteban Muñoz's Disidentifications, this is like my New Testament because it came out in 1998. This would be like my Old Testament because it came out in 87. So I have a review of this book on my channel already. Check it out. Tough book to get through. It will also make you cry. And then, when it comes to history, and this kind of has to do with that project of decolonizing your brain, de-Christianizing, de-monotheisticizing, de-modernizing your brain, which I consider part of my spiritual practice. I don't know why I pulled this book out. So, getting into or studying other religions that appear in the West or in the East or wherever, Um, and learning the hybridity of Europe, because too often we think of the New World as this hybrid culture of all these different influences, but we forget that the Old World, it's not something stable and unifying, it's just as hybrid. There were just as many different ethnic groups and different cultures intermingling for centuries, for thousands of years in the Old World, right? So, The Ornament of the World, I read this before I studied abroad in Spain during my sophomore year of college. This talks about the history of the Islamic culture that was in Spain for about 700 years during the medieval period up until 1492. 1492 is a big year for Spain. Anyway, The Ornament of the World, How Muslims, Jews, and Christians Created a Culture of Tolerance in Medieval Spain. So this is a really fascinating book if you want to learn about the hybridity of medieval Spain and medieval Europe in general. Along the same lines, Moorish Spain. Basically the same idea, just a different perspective. This is by Richard Fletcher, Moorish Spain. And then this book has a lot of archaeological and historical information in it. Mexico, from the Olmecs to the Aztecs. So this is pre-Columbian Mexico. And it has lots of beautiful imagery of a lot of the archaeological finds. I can't talk today, sorry guys. So this has a lot of information, but also beautiful pictures of a lot of the archaeological finds in Mesoamerica or pre-Columbian North and Central America. So this is from the Toltec capital of Tula. And I really like this book because a lot of us have heard of the Aztecs or the Mayans, but there's a lot of different ethnic groups that existed at the same time in that region. So this really amplified my understanding of that pre-Columbian history of the region. Look at this. This is from some of the codexes that were found. It's just a really great book. So, of course, Howard Zinn, A People's History of the United States. If you have not read this book, just go do it. It's pretty thick, really small letters, but yeah, need I say more? Just go read it. And then part of my kind of colonial and post-colonial interests have to do with the Inquisition, because the Inquisition was not just a European phenomenon, it was brought over to the New World, to the colonies. One of these books, this book is actually about, it's a case study, and it's about a woman who was put on trial in Spain. The Inquisition of Francisca, a 16th century visionary on trial. So this is like reclaiming that lost history of specifically all the women that were lost because of religious fanaticism. So this is in Spain, a 16th century woman who was put on trial in Spain for her heretical visions. And then this is colonial Guatemala, women who live evil lives, gender, religion, and the politics of power in colonial Guatemala. And this is by Martha Few. And this is about women who were targeted by the Inquisition in colonial Guatemala. So, Yeah, those are some more of my academic interests that I consider to be part of my spiritual growth and development. So, now I should dive into some of that work and read about the apocalypse. I hope you guys have enjoyed your sneak peek into my library, or some of the books in my library. If you have any questions about any of these specific books, if you want the bibliographic information about the book, or what I thought about them, go ahead and comment. I'll try my best to respond as quickly as possible. And yeah, have a beautiful day. Bye!